1 minute to the show.
Okay.
Well, put your mic on,
Okay.
and it's only 1 minute till the show.
Okay.
So what would you do if you had to, well, Supercross is over.
Yeah.
You and I were the big winners of our fantasy group. That was
I
fun.
know, that was fun.
What would you do if Barsha was racing this week and you had to, would that affect you? And in other words, you had him in your top 5 several times throughout the season.
Yeah.
Would it affect where you put him this week?
Voted?
The way you put him, yeah.
It wouldn't affect the way I voted.
Not vote, but where you put him in the top 5.
Would I put him in the top 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. But I don't think that he was punished
Severely enough?
severely enough. Yeah.
You-
I don't think probation works, and I don't think a monetary punishment works either.
Yeah.
Because it's not enough. Something's got to be done, and he's got an attitude, bad attitude about it.
Yeah, that's what made it worse was the interview afterwards.
Yeah.
A lot of people said, oh, well, he owned it. It doesn't make it right.
It doesn't make it right. And it shouldn't be. Because if he gets away with it, then others will.
Okay.
You're live.
You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. On tonight's program, we've got a Next Time Try This segment. We'll be talking about a wire loom. We've also got a moto showcase, an incredible 1975 Honda CR125. In the Here's the Problem segment, we've got your questions coming in. What's it worth? We've got trivia coming up tonight, a chance to win a new book by Keith Geisner. And in the Just How I See It segment tonight, where I'd like you to put in your comments throughout the show, I would like to know more about your thoughts on KTM bringing back Ryan Dungey and bringing Antonio Cairoli to America. I think it was a really good marketing ploy on KTM's part. They've been doing something between building bikes and doing a lot of advertising and different things to get the people more interested in KTM. And I think the people at the top said, you know what, maybe if we bring back Ryan Dungey and we bring Antonio Cairoli to America, maybe we'll get some people out, more people out to see the race, more people interested in the brand. I'm going to be looking forward to seeing your comments throughout the show. Susie is here with me. She'll be telling me about what you are saying. We'll have all that and a whole lot more coming up on Vintage Motocross Q&A. Good evening, everyone. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and I'm your host, Joe Abadi. It's good to be back live. Jordan was away. I was away. Jordan was in Hawaii in a beautiful tropical paradise. I was in a culinary paradise called the great state of New Jersey. It's good to be back here live, and I hope you enjoyed our shows the past 2 weeks with the Rodney Smith interview, as well as the International Motocross Museum interview, where we had Gunnar Lundstrom, Dave Arnold, and Tom Miller on the show. We'll be talking more about the International Motocross Museum coming up in the near future. But right now, let's get on with the show. Don't forget to keep sharing the show, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. We will have a random share giveaway winner a little bit later on in the show. They will win a beautiful sticker sheet just like this, compliments of our wonderful sponsor, Vintco. If you are on YouTube and you're watching the show, don't forget to comment Motion Pro. Our YouTube channel is going really, really well. We could always use more help. Get over there and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can see all the shows we've ever done at Vintage Motocross Q&A, including all of our wonderful interviews. When you subscribe to that channel, you'll get a little alert just like this. Tells you when we're live. That's the best way you can watch all the past shows of Vintage Motocross Q&A. And how are the experts watching the show? How are the pros watching it? They're sitting back on their couch looking at their big screen TV, commenting from their phone. It's a great way to watch the show on your big screen TV at home. So kick back, watch the show on YouTube, or if you're enjoying it on Facebook, we appreciate you being here either way. I want to thank our sponsors, Motion Pro, Vinco, Racer X, Preston Petty Products, Full Circle Racing, Bills Pipes, Northwest Mako CZ, and of course, Sunrise Vapor Blasting. In the next time try this segment tonight, I want to talk to you about your wire loom on your bike and how sometimes it can become unsightly, or if you're going to buy a bike, there's something you should consider when you look at it. Many times you'll see wires taped up like you see it here in the picture. Now, tape might be a good temporary fix, but it's not a great way to keep out moisture and water from getting down into your ignition and wreaking havoc with that a little bit later on. If you're either restoring a bike or rebuilding a bike, what you might want to do is use the correct PVC wire loom. Other guys have used methods like this where they use shrink wrap to put wires together and then they just tape over that as well. But the best thing you want to get is buy yourself some wire loom just like this, okay? It is made of PVC and it comes in different diameters. You could order it, it either comes in inches or it comes in millimeters, be it 8, 10, 12, depending on how many wires you have in your bike. You can buy this, and a lot of people miss it because they don't realize it's called PVC. It's called PVC, and you could put it on over your wires, your 3 or 4 wires that you have on your bike, put it down into your ignition area with a nice rubber grommet that looks just like that, and you'll have a nice, neat, stock-looking finished piece. This way your bike is really well protected, and it's going to look great doing it. I want to thank Sal Scarpa for suggesting that we bring that bit of information to you on the show. What do we have next, Jordan? Vinco. You know, Vinco's into a lot of different things now, and they're even offering some street bike parts, vintage street bike parts. They've got a Kawasaki H1 500, 69 through 75 KH500 connecting rod kit. And I imagine there's 3 rods in that kit because it's a 3-cylinder bike. Anyway, just $139.95 available at Vinco. It does come with a heavy-duty forged steel connecting rod, the crank pin, the big end bearing, the wrist pin, and of course, the thrush washers. Just $139.95, Susie, available at where? Vinco.com. Gotta be a little quicker on the draw, Sue, when I ask you questions. What do we got next there, Jordan? The Moto Showcase. Got a beautiful bike coming to you tonight. I actually featured this bike on the show at some point. I forgot. Oh, you know what it was? No, I don't know what it was. Oh, I know what it is. This is the Moto Showcase, but I think I had it on for another, for a different bike. No. I got my Moto Showcase confused with my What's It Worth. This is the Moto Showcase bike. It's a 1976 Yamaha YZ125 that was sent in to us by Chris Lucas. Now, Chris Lucas, Dylan Lucas, they've been very, very generous to us here at the show, sending in some pretty amazing bikes. And this is Chris Lucas's YZ125C. I'm going to read to you a little bit more about it while Jordan goes through the slides. Late 75 on a practice day in Puyallup, MX. It was the weekend after the Trans Am. A kid showed up on a YZ125C. I had a 125 Husky at the time. The kid asked me if I wanted to trade bikes for a few laps. After I was riding that YZ125, I did not want to get back on my Husky 125. Flash forward 40 years plus, I was at a swap meet and found a new pair of K&N air filters for a 76 YZ125C. So with that in my memory of how nice that YZ once was, I started to track down a bike. The first thing I did was I found the Shinobi water-cooled kit. Well, you really find the parts backwards, huh? Chris, you found air filters, which are really, really hard to find for a YZ. But then you go out and find a Shinobi kit first, which is nearly impossible. Anyway, but I digress. He goes out and he gets the water-cooled kit. I bought a complete YZ125C off the web. It was a good runner, but the frame was junk. I found a nice C-model frame, and it didn't have any repairs. I had the motor completely rebuilt. I added an HP ignition, Racetech rebuilt shock. I went with YZ75 250 forks over the stock ones. They're lighter and they look much better. I use the YZ125X swing arm. The plastic are translucent. It is from DC. Buchanan built the wheels. My son Neil painted my tank. He paints all my YZ tanks. The pipe is a PFR designed for a 74 YZ125, but I made it work, and it really does perform very, very well. A lot of the NOS parts came from Speed and Sport Yamaha. There was also a lot more custom parts made for this build. It's funny how a lot of my builds start with the idea or memory from many years ago. And in this case, it was just a pair of air filters that I found that led to this bike. 76 YZ125C was my first bike, Chris. Always a favorite of mine. And the way you have it rebuilt here is absolutely phenomenal with the Shinobi kit and that trick pipe. I absolutely love it. And for you submitting your bike to us this week at Vintage Motocross Q&A, we've got a nice coffee mug for you, compliments of Preston Petty products and Vintage Motocross Q&A. Now, I know you've sent bikes into us before. If you don't want a mug and maybe you want a sticker pack or something different, get a hold of me and I'll get you whatever you like. And if you want another mug, we've got plenty of those too. And that's it for the Moto Showcase tonight. Don't forget to keep commenting about what you think on Antonio Caroli coming back with KTM and Ryan Dungey coming off a 5-year retirement to come back out for KTM, at least for the first 2 nationals of the year. I have a feeling it's going to be more. Looking forward to talking about your comments a little bit later on in the show. Preston Petty special this week: front and rear MX GP fenders, front and rear MX fenders, and a set of GP grips. Just $115.95. Get over to PrestonPettyProducts.com. Don't forget, Paul Standard is still looking for dealers. Yes, if you want to become a dealer for Preston Petty. Susie, you want to become a dealer for Preston Petty?
Sure.
Okay. Get a hold of PrestonPetty.com and Paul Standard, and he will make you a dealer. But the special this week, 2 fenders and a set of grips, $115.95. And here's the problem segment tonight. We've got some questions that have come in from you in the past week or so. Let's see which one we have up first. Bubba Dennis. Joe, there's a shortage of NGK B8ES spark plugs. There's a shortage of a lot of things in America right now, Bubba, but that's a story for a different day. There's a shortage of NGK B8ES spark plugs. What are people using now? Well, I'll tell you what, Bubba, I don't really know exactly what people are using, but I did come across a cross-reference chart. It's at sparkplugcrossreference.com, and it tells you what spark plugs will correspond with a B8ES or a BHES, and they've got a plethora of them over there. Some Champions, some Denso, and some other plugs as well. So you can check the reach and the heat range if you go to sparkplugcrossreference.com, and you'll find out what you can use other than the NGK. I do know a lot of people are having difficulty finding them, but I hope that helps. You might be able to find something else that's a little more plentiful. Hopefully the performance is good as an NGK plug. Chris Goyon. Joe, I took your advice on the Motion Pro JIS, the Japanese industry standard, impact tips, and they work perfectly. Thank you for the advice. Yeah, you know, it's easy to miss that, and a lot of people don't realize that a Phillips head is not the same thing as a JIS. You can see right here in this little graphic that we've put up how the JIS is a little pointier and goes down into the head of that screw much deeper than the Phillips does. A lot of people will use a Phillips screwdriver, go into the JIS screw, and they wind up rounding out the screw or stripping it. It's especially a problem if you have screws that are in there really, really tight and you go to use one of those little impact tools and you go to give it a whack with a hammer, and guaranteed you're going to strip the head at that point. So Motion Pro does supply the JIS impact screw tips. It's a great way to go, and it's always nice to hear from our listeners when they tell me that they've tried something that I've recommended and it actually worked so well. Thanks, Chris. The next question comes from, and I apologize, a lot of times people will send me questions throughout the week. They come into my phone in an instant message. I take a picture of it and I save it for the show. Unless I put their name down, I don't always remember or know who the person is. So if it is you, please tell me it was you who asked this question, and I will be sure that you get credit on next week's show. The question was, Joe, can you discuss the difference in the 1974 Honda CR125 and CR250 kill switches? One has 2 stops, one has 3. Which one goes where? Well, I asked the Elsinore guru, Bill Naselrod, about this, and Bill sent me a couple of great pictures and did explain it to me as well. And I think we've got a picture here. Jordan, what's the first one we have? Well, this is the comparison, okay? It's a used switch and a new switch, but I can tell you that the 125 has a run and an off position. That's it. The 125 has a run and an off, and the 73, 74 CR250 has 3 stops. It has an off, run, off. So you're looking on your bike and you got a 250, you should have 3 stops on that kill switch. If you have a 125, 74 only, it would be 2 stops, run and off. 75 CR125 went to a button after that, and it stayed with that forever till today. It still has the same switch on it. But anyway, that's how it goes. 250, 3 stops. 125, 2 stops. Thanks for the question, whoever you may be.
Hello, this is Donnie Hansen. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and we'll be right back.
Hi, Jeff here, introducing you to Motion Pro's magnetic pickup tool today. Now, we've all had that bad experience where we drop a loose part or fastener into a hard to reach place like a skid plate or belly pan. Well, this is the right tool for the job that will retrieve that stubborn part and get you back to working on your ride. As for the features of the magnetic pickup tool, first you have this billet aluminum handle. There's a low profile magnetic tip that's extremely strong and in fact will even pick up a Motion Pro T handle. This flexible shaft can get into hard to reach places and with its protective coating won't damage the finish on your motorcycle. The magnetic pickup tool is affordably priced at $14.99 and is available from your favorite power sports dealer nationwide. So avoid future frustration and pick one up for yourself today.
In the What's It Worth segment tonight, which I got confused earlier with the Moto Showcase bike. We've got a really nice bike coming up. And this is the segment of the show where I ask you what you think this bike recently sold for. I did have this bike on the show previously. It was in the Moto Showcase. It has recently been sold. I'm bringing it to you right now. It is a 1975 Honda CR125M. The location was Arizona, and it sold on February 22nd, 2002. It's an absolutely incredible looking machine. I am going to read to you all about it. Jordan's going to go through the slides. 1975 CR125M complete rebuilt racer. This bike was stripped down to the frame, the engine removed, and it was sent off to factory edge. The motor was torn down. It was inspected. If it needed any repairs, it received them. It's got a Vintco rod nut and piston, and some of the missing transmission clips were installed. There are new bearings and seals installed as well. We then sent the engine, covers, cylinder, and head for Cerakote and powder coating. Then gave the transmission a micro polish finish. The stock carb was vapor blasted and rebuilt. The frame was inspected and sent out with the tank to Condello Customs for powder coating. I sent the hubs and brake plates to W in California for their vintage restoration service. The hubs were restored and laced up with silver rims, and they have XL rims on it. All of the hardware from the bike was plated by Save On Plating in Phoenix, Arizona. Boy, this guy did a description of the bike. He really plugged everybody who helped him with it, and that's nice. I used the following products on the service for the build. Engine rebuild by Ryan Wilson at Factory Edge. Vintco for the engine parts, bearing seals, and cables. Remix for various parts. VMX Racing for the fenders and other graphics. Bike graphics, Dunlop tires, Renthal chain and grips. Mica metals for the handlebars. The vintage Olin shocks were sent to Chris Alamangos at VintageMX.com for rebuilding. It's got a 73 CR 250 set of forks on it. It's got billet machine triple clamps from Advanced Machining, a DNR, Dallas Nyblood, countershaft sprocket, a billet ignition cover. Got a front hub from a 74 CR 250M for better stopping power. It's got an aluminum swing arm from Carl Landris Products, a Cerakoted DG custom pipe, and a custom rear brake torque arm. Compliments of Phil Denton Engineering. A lot of custom parts in this bike and beautiful craftsmanship on it. What do you think it sold for? $8,000. $9,000. You think somebody went for over $12,000 on this bike? I bet you between buying it and doing all that work, there's over $12,000 into it. This bike sold for $10,000. $10,000 on eBay. I'd like to know who got the closest without going over. And maybe we've got a little prize for you for doing that. That's not really a regular part of the show where I give a prize for guessing the price of the What's It Worth bike, but I'm feeling kind of generous. So if you didn't go over 10,000 and you got real close, let me know who you are. We'll get you some kind of little gift compliments of the show. Don't forget to keep commenting about the Ryan Dungey Antonio Cairoli return to KTM for at least the first two nationals. Okay? Cairoli, 9-time world champion. Dungey, 8-time national champion. 4 in Supercross, 4 in nationals. Retired for 5 years. What do you think about that? Will those guys make you go out to a national to see him ride? I'd like to know more about it. We'll be talking a little bit more about it a little bit later on in the show, Susie. Don't forget, Full Circle Racing still has that great offer. Powder coating your hubs. They'll clean them, disassemble them, blast them, mask them, and powder coat them. $50 a hub in either gloss black or satin black for just $20 more. Tom will make them any color in the rainbow. Get a hold of Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing. And I want to thank Tom for sending me this new shirt that fits me so well, like an After Six suit that is worn by many, many hosts of television shows. Thank you, Tom McAllister. Did you know that there was a company called Skunkworks It was a little company back in the 70s, and they came out with one product that was really, really good. You could see it. I think you could see it in one of these slides. If not, I'll tell you about it, and you probably know what it is. It was called the Skunk Works induction system, and what it did was it gave you this intake tube that you could put onto your Kawasaki KX125. Now, that little Kawasaki at the time came with a 26 millimeter carburetor, wasn't really very big. And after you put that Skunk Works tube on there, you were able to put a 30 millimeter, a 32 millimeter, whatever it might be. Another idea that Skunk Works had at the time during the suspension revolution was this suspension kit. Okay, and it was kind of a progressive suspension thing where you'd add it to your swing arm and it would give you a whole bunch more travel than you actually had, and it kind of was a progressive feel to it. I don't recall seeing many at the track at the time. I don't really recall anybody looking for them now as far as restoring bikes. They also, and I've never seen one of these, not for sale or at the track, but if you look at the front of this bike, it's got something up there that has a single shock on the front as well. So while a lot of people are looking for those Skunk Works intake kits for the Kawasaki KX125, I don't know if anybody's looking for these suspension kits that Skunk Works made back in the 70s. I think they were around from like 74 to 77 making the suspension kit like this. And then after that, the monoshock was involved. Forks got longer. Suspension was moved up on the Suzukis and of course on Hondas and 79 and stuff like that. But did you know that there was a company called Skunk Works and they came up with a suspension kit like that? Well, now you know. Sunrise Vapor Blasting, my good friend down there in Modesto, Mark Farriester. I sent him many, many parts. I sent him another box just this week. I know a lot of people who watch the show are sending him stuff as well. Get a hold of Mark Farriester at Sunrise Vapor Blasting. His turnaround time is phenomenal. His prices are exceptionally reasonable, and he will turn anything back to new or better condition. Aluminum, magnesium, titanium, you name the metal, Mark will put it in that machine and you'll get it back as good as new. And no matter what it is, if it's got little delicate parts that are attached to it, or it has dissimilar metals like a brass into an aluminum carburetor, he will take care of that as well. It's a great way to refinish your parts. Thank you, Mark Farriester at Sunrise Vapor Blasting. Trivia is coming up right now. And of course, the trivia contest tonight is for this wonderful book written by Keith Geisner, Discovering 6 Days. Keith, of course, a very talented writer, wrote that book Finding Number 49 about the Harley race team. But right now, we are going to ask the question, and here it comes. This is a call-in, too. Don't forget. Call-in. We'll give you the number in just a second. Who were the first members of the American Motocross the Nations team in 1971? There were 4 guys. Who were the members of the first American Motocross the Nations team in 1971? Extra credit if you could tell me what country they raced that race in. Who were the 4 guys? Where'd they race? 1971. They were Americans, but one was a transplant from another country.
You told me it was 1973.
I'm sorry, 1971, Susie.
Oh,
Anyway.
it's 71.
Who were the first 4 guys on that team? Call in now, 925-234-8181, 925-234-8181. First person that calls in and gets it right will win this book by Keith Geisner, Discovering 6 Days. Just how I see it segment tonight. I've been talking to you about it for the entire show. And I think it's a really great, publicity move by KTM to bring back Ryan Dungey and bring Antonio Caroli to America to race for KTM. Now, Dungey, of course, a very accomplished rider here in America, 8-time champion between Supercross and Motocross, and Antonio Caroli, 9-time world champion. His career speaks for itself, but he wants to come to America. He wants to race motocross here, and I think it's a great way for KTM to get out there with a little bit more of an international flavor here in America. I'm just wondering if you folks out there will go out there. You want to see Dungey ride again? You want to see if Caroli could stack up against our talent here in America? How do you think it'll be against guys like Eli Tomac and some of the others, huh? Jason Anderson? Maybe Justin Barsha. Let's hear from you guys. I want to hear more about the Dungey-Caroli return here on American soil. It's coming up. Susie will be reading it off to me a little bit later on in the show. Or maybe if she's got some now, she could even tell me. No. Anybody calling for the trivia?
No.
Nobody calling in for the trivia tonight?
Not yet.
Come on, guys. Who were the first 4 Americans to represent America in the motocross nations? Call me at 925-234-8181, 925-234-8181. Susie standing by, waiting for your call. The winner's going to get that great book, Discovering 6 Days. We're going to take a commercial break. Don't forget to keep sharing the show, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. We'll have the winner of that when we come back, and hopefully the winner of our trivia contest. We'll be right back after this message.
Classic and vintage dirt bikes are more than a hobby. It's not just about the ride. It's about the work that goes in. The work that keeps you connected to the ride. It's about bringing the bike back to life and doing it with your own hands. It's about the adrenaline and adventure. And when it comes to putting all the pieces together, only Vinco knows the bikes and parts the way you do. Vinco, keep the ride going.
All right, we are back, and as promised, we have tonight's random share giveaway winner. It is Chris Goyon. Chris Goyon, you are tonight's random share giveaway winner. Thanks for watching the show and sharing it with all of your friends. Get a hold of me, Chris, and I will get you a sticker sheet just like this. Compliments of Vintage Motocross Q&A and, of course, Vinco.com. We still don't have a trivia winner for tonight's trivia contest. Who were the first 4 Americans that represented the USA abroad in the motocross nations? Who are they? Want me to give you a hint? One of them was from Sweden, actually. He was a transplant. He'd been in America about 5 years, so America put him on their team. Who are those 4 guys? Winner gets Discovering 6 Days, book by Keith Geisner. Okay, this week in motocross history is brought to you by who, Susie? That's right, Racer X, one of the finest publications on your newsstand now. Also available online. Don't forget to see our ad in the back of every issue. This week in motocross history, we're going to go way, way back to 1937. I want to wish Ralph Tiblin a very happy 85th birthday. Future FIM motocross world champion and U.S. motocross pioneer, Ralph Tiblin was born in Sweden. He would become the 250cc European champion in 1959, and then the FIM 500cc world champion 2 times, 1962 and 1963. He also finished on the podium for several seasons after that. When his career ended, he became a training guru and ran the Husqvarna International Training Center in the 70s in Carlsbad, California. He also teamed up with fellow Swede expatriate Gunnar Lindström, who was one of the four riders in the trivia contest to win the 1972 Baja 1000 in the motorcycle division. Gunnar Lindström. 1973, what do we got going on, Jordan? Cherokee MX Park in Opelousas, Louisiana, hosted the second round of the 1973 AMA National Motocross Championship. In the 250 class, it was Jam and Jimmy Weinert who brought Kawasaki their first 250 national win, followed by Suzuki-mounted Rich Thorwaldsen, Yamaha-mounted Barry Higgins, and Honda's Dwayne Jones. I hesitated there on a name purposely. Don't forget to call in 925-234-8181 for tonight's trivia contest. 1989, my home state, the great state of New Jersey, hosted the Meadowlands Supercross. The win went to Jeff Stanton in the 250 class. Damon Bradshaw topped the 125 class. Honda Stanton topped Mickey Diamond's career best second in Supercross on his Yamaha, as well as Suzuki's Johnny O'Mara, who was third. Yamaha's Bradshaw would better Honda's Mike Kudrowski and Suzuki's Denny Stevenson. Yeah, 1989. Supercross in New Jersey. And that's it this week in motocross history. Don't forget, somebody's got to call in.
Tell them to call in.
925-234-8181, who were the first 4 gentlemen that represented America in the motocross nations. We got
Give
some
me parts of answers on
parts of answers. You got to call in with the whole answer. I gave you 25% of the answers already. I told you Gunnar Lindström, and I hesitated on another answer during the MX history segment. That was one of the answers. Come on, guys, you can do it. we've got some announcements. The announcements are brought to you by Bill's Pipes. Don't forget to get a hold of Bill's Pipes on Facebook. All their information is there. They're making some great pipes there. I want to thank my friend Randy Scott and, of course, Bill Severus of Bill's Pipes for being a sponsor of the show. Excuse me. The Motocross Revival is this weekend, May 15th, at Glen Helen. My friend David Dewhurst is putting on a great event, and he has talked the factories into bringing out some of the true works bikes of the 1980s. I understand David Bailey's RC 500 will be there. Dave Arnold went back, put on the gloves again, took out the tools, got that bike to run. I think there's going to be some Kawasaki factory bikes there as well as Yamahas. If you're not doing anything, get out to Glen Helen this Sunday, May 15th, for a really, really great event, Motocross Revival. This is, of course, will be a bit of a plug there, too, I'm sure, for David Dewhurst's new book that will be coming out, we all hope very, very shortly, The Golden Era of Motocross.
Tell David Dennis to call. He's got 3 out of the 4.
Who? David Dennis?
Yeah, call him.
David Dennis, call in. You got 3 out of the 4. Of course, I gave you 2 out of the 4, but look, I'm trying to run a show here and give stuff away. On a much more serious note, Paul Stannard asked me to do him a little bit of a favor on the show tonight and make an announcement. Paul Stannard was asked by Todd Huffman to run the remastered On Any Sunday video in New England. Now, Paul is up in Vermont, and this is the only chance to see the On Any Sunday video. Now, Paul wrote to me, and I want to get this right because it's rather important, and it's for personal reason too. Todd Huffman asked me to host a newly digital remastered On Any Sunday movie. This is the only New England showing. I wanted to incorporate an addition to the movie showing to honor a friend who does not have long to live. His name is Jim Hollerich. He owns the Museum of Vintage Trail Bikes in Cheshire, Massachusetts. Jim has made an incredible impact on vintage trail bikes. He's got an incredible museum and a collection of bikes that do include mostly Osas, but it is a really, really amazing collection. His property was the start of the 2003 and the 2013 International 6-Day Trial Reunion Rides. If you can mention it on the show tonight, Joe, we would really appreciate it. There is an open house at Jim's Museum from 11 to 3. That's on Saturday, May 21st. And then the On Any Sunday show movie will be only 5 miles away from Jim's Museum starting at 4 o'clock. Tickets for the movie can be purchased online at the Preston Petty website. Our prayers go out to Jim Hollerich. We, of course, commend our good friend Paul Stannard and Preston Petty Products for wanting to put something so special together for Jim at this time. So if anybody's up there in New England, you haven't seen the digitally remastered movie On Any Sunday, now would be a good time to do it. And go and say hello to Jim. I'm sure he'd love to see you all. Finish Line is brought to you by Northwest Mako CZ. Get a hold of Alan Brown at northwestmakocz.com.
I don't know why they're not calling in.
T-shirts and hoodies are still available for just $19.99. They come in gray and white. They have our logo across the front and my signature across the back. You can still get a hoodie too. Any comments on the Dungey Cairoli return? No comments. Nobody cares about Ryan Dungey coming out of retirement at, I think, 32 years old, or Cairoli getting over here to America. He might whip some American butt on that KTM. Nobody has anything to say about that. Well, I think it's great for the sport. I think it's a good move by KTM, and that's just how I see that. I would like to hear somebody call in to area code 925-234-8181 to win this great book, Discovering 6-Day by Keith Geisner. Who'd you say had 3 out of 4?
Deemer has.
Who?
John Deemer has it.
Jonathan Deemer has 3 out of 4?
Yeah.
Jonathan Deemer, call in. 234-8181. 925-234-8181. Jonathan Deemer, call in.
David Dennis.
Or David Dennis. One of you guys call in. The first one to call in is going to get this book. If you get 3 of them right, and I already spotted you 2, I'm still going to give you the book. Come on, call in. 925-234-8181. Somebody has called in.
Hello. Higgins.
Give me the phone. I'll take them live right now, Susie. Come on, I'll get them right through this.
All
Come on.
fun.
I got dead airspace here. I need content, Susie. I need content. This is Joe Abadi. You're live on Vintage Motocross Q&A. Who am I speaking to?
Joe, this is John Deemer.
John Deemer. Who are the first?
I could be wrong, but I think it was Robbins, Hartwig, and Higgins, and there was somebody else.
No, you got Higgins right. And who did I mention before? I mentioned somebody else's name before. He was a transplant from Sweden.
Ralph Tiblin or something like that.
No, it wasn't Ralph Tiblin, although he was from Sweden too.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
I just tuned in, so I didn't catch who you were talking to.
All right.
So,
Well, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take the next caller and see if they get it.
well, I hope they do. By golly.
All right. Thanks for calling in, John.
All right, man. Take care.
Just hang up on this. Oh, Slick Savage, just hit red.
Yeah.
This is Joe Abadi. You're live at Vintage Motocross Q&A. Who am I speaking to? Oh boy. This is Joe Abadi. You're live at Vintage Motocross Q&A. Who am I speaking to?
This is John McNulty. How you doing, Joe?
Say your name again. I didn't have you on speaker. Who are you?
Hold on a second. This is John McNulty.
John McNulty. Thanks for calling in. Hey, who were the first four guys who represented the USA at the Motocross the Nations in 1971?
Higgins, Barry Higgins,
Who else?
Gunnar Lindstrom,
Yes.
Kenny and Barclay. That
Yes.
was in France.
You're right. Brian Kenny and John Barclay, and it was in France, and there's a picture of them. Great job, Mr. McNulty. Thank you for calling in. We're going to get your address, and we're going to get you a copy of Discovering 6 Days by Keith Geisner.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you so much. Hang on, Susie. Will be with you in a second. I can't believe how difficult it has become to give away free books on this show. But maybe the question was a little tough. Anyway, I appreciate everybody calling in and playing along. And Jordan, what do we got up next? Vintage Motocross Q&A sponsorship opportunities are still available. Get a hold of me. I'll get you a proposal package. We just put a new one together. We've got a special for people who have want to do just a short-term sponsorship, see if it works, and then they can roll over into something bigger. But I got a special rate for people who are first-time sponsors who want to do a little short run, and if it works, they can go on to something better. So get a hold of me. I will email you a sponsorship proposal package. It's very informative and fun to watch. That wraps it up for this episode of Vintage Motocross Q&A. It's good to be back live. I want to thank Jordan and Chelsea. Welcome them home. Susie for doing such a great job helping me here, and everybody out in the audience tonight who shared the show, plays along with the games, and always comes back every week. I'm Joe Abadi. Thanks for watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll see you next time. Gino! Gino!